if you need to graph a piecewise function, students really get hung up on it because it's a different type of idea, but really it's actually asking you to recall concepts of graphing you remember before. You're just going to graph two lines in this case instead of one. Like this line, x minus 1. You can picture that like the y equals x minus 1 equation. And by this time in the course, you've seen graphing this type of equation before. It's y equals mx plus b. This is the b, the y-intercept, and there's a 1 here if there's no number written, so that is the slope. We can graph that, so let's go ahead and do that on a x and y grid. So to graph this guy, we put a dot on -1. Yeah, somewhere right there. And then we count up our slope. Our slope is a rise of 1, and we run over to the right one, because 1 over 1 that makes 1. That's our slope. Yeah, if there's ever a 1, that's just telling you to rise 1, run to the right 1. That's the graph of our line. But watch what I do when I graph. I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to keep a closed dot, because my piecewise function says graph y equals x minus 1, but then stop it when you get to x equals 1. That's where x equals 1. So I'm going to stop, and then when x is greater than 1, I'm going to pick it up with this new graph. So the graph of 1 minus x, it has a y-intercept. Oops. Has a y-intercept at 1, so that's where I'm going to make my starting dot right there. And then this slope is a -1, because if there's no number in front of the x, it means 1. That means I'm going to count down 1 to the right 1 to get to my next dot. Down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. That's what my graph's going to look like. But when I graph it, I got to make sure I don't graph it on the left side, because this graph in blue is only supposed to happen when x is greater than 1. So x is 0 over here. That's not where we want our graph, because 0 isn't greater than 1. X is -1. That's not greater than 1. This is the only place where the graph should happen for that blue line. And that's it. That's the piecewise function graphed. Okay. We should have arrows going for the red graph, because that goes infinitely in that direction. But that's it. It's basically two different lines happening at the same time.